In the United Kingdom, there is a proposal to prohibit local councils from displaying flags that are considered politically progressive or woke. In Germany, Friedrich Merz has assumed the role of chancellor following a significant loss in the initial voting round. In the United Kingdom, there is a proposal to prohibit local councils from displaying flags that are considered politically progressive or woke. In Germany, Friedrich Merz has assumed the role of chancellor following a significant loss in the initial voting round. Cardinal Erdo from Hungary is gaining popularity among conservative circles as a potential candidate for the position of pope.
A recent study has discovered that cinnamon could potentially impact the effectiveness of certain prescription medications. Chronic pain sufferers might find relief by acquiring the skill to manage negative emotions. Furthermore, a psychologist suggests that a significant portion of the British population is now identifying as neurodivergent.
Hamas asserts that there is no value in continuing truce negotiations with Gaza if Israel persists in what it describes as a hunger war. Meanwhile, Israel is reportedly considering occupying and completely destroying Gaza if no agreement is reached before Trump's visit, with an Israeli minister suggesting that Gaza should be completely destroyed and its residents relocated to third countries. Additionally, the Netherlands is advocating for a re-evaluation of the EU-Israel trade agreement due to what it calls the catastrophic blockade of aid to Gaza.
The United States has imposed sanctions on a Myanmar warlord and a militia associated with cyber scams. In Peru's northern region, gold mining activities have been halted following the tragic deaths of 13 miners. The International Court of Justice (ICJ) has declared that it lacks jurisdiction in a genocide case brought against the United Arab Emirates (UAE). This development comes a month after Sudan accused the UAE of providing support and complicity in genocide at the World Court.
U.S. crude oil prices have reached their lowest point since 2021 following OPEC+'s decision to increase production in June. The European Union is considering imposing tariffs on €100 billion worth of U.S. goods if negotiations do not succeed. China has criticized the United States for the serious negative impact of the tariffs imposed by former President Trump as trade discussions are about to commence.
Google inadvertently discloses information regarding its upcoming Android design language, known as Material 3 Expressive. Microsoft has officially included Fedora Linux as a supported distribution within its Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL. Cisco has introduced a prototype chip designed for quantum networking. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has instructed a reduction of 20% in the number of top military leadership roles. Former President Trump announced that a truce has been established with the Houthis, who have agreed to cease targeting ships. The Wall Street Journal has reported that the United States has instructed its intelligence agencies to intensify their surveillance activities in Greenland.
A recent poll indicates that the majority of Americans rely on federal science information on a weekly basis, as reported by NPR. Trump is considering the elimination of the long-standing Energy Star efficiency program. Europe has committed to investing €500 million to attract scientists, contrasting with Trump's ongoing conflicts with universities.
In the United States, authorities have apprehended and charged 764 individuals who were involved in running a worldwide child exploitation operation. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has reported that Instagram's recommendation system has been suggesting connections between individuals known as groomers and minors. Switzerland is taking steps to prohibit the physical punishment of children.
Governor Newsom has indicated his openness to collaborating with President Trump on a proposed $7.5 billion federal tax credit aimed at supporting the U.S. entertainment industry. The White House has stated that no definitive decisions have been reached regarding movie tariffs, as they continue to consider all available options. Ford has announced that tariffs are expected to result in a $1.5 billion financial burden for the company by the year 2025. Furthermore, Mattel, the company behind Barbie, has revealed plans to increase product prices due to the impact of Trump's tariffs. Uber has collaborated with China's Pony AI to introduce self-driving taxis in a significant market located in the Middle East. Tesla is advancing its LiDAR-free self-driving technology in China while awaiting approval for its full self-driving (FSD) system from Beijing. Waymo has set a goal to increase the production of its robot Axis at its Arizona facility by doubling the output by the conclusion of 2026.
In April, Xbox games dominated the PlayStation Store, occupying the top 3 spots in sales. Minecraft has announced the end of its VR support. In the tech sector, Seagate anticipates a significant increase in hard drive capacity, predicting a tripling by 2030 due to the rising demand for AI. Across the pond, Deliveroo has reached an agreement for a £2.9 billion acquisition by its American competitor, DoorDash.
During a meeting in the Oval Office with President Trump, Canadian Prime Minister Carney firmly stated that Canada is not for sale, it won't be for sale, ever. In response, Trump remarked, "Never say never." Bloomberg reported on this encounter, highlighting Carney's attempt to engage Trump through discussions about real estate. Britain and India have reached a £5 billion free trade agreement, which includes provisions for visas and tariffs on products such as cars, textiles, and whiskey. CNN noted that the first vessels transporting Chinese goods, subject to 145% tariffs, have arrived in Los Angeles, but they are only half full, raising concerns about potential shortages.
The Trump administration plans to withhold wages from 5.3 million individuals who have defaulted on their student loans this upcoming summer. According to CNBC, the impact of Trump's trade tariffs has expanded to encompass nearly all exports from the United States, as indicated by supply chain data. Purchasing a home in the United States now necessitates an additional $50,000 in annual income compared to renting.
India launched military actions against Pakistan in response to the murder of tourists, while Pakistan claims that Indian aircraft were shot down. The International Monetary Fund's April outlook anticipates that India will rise to the position of the fourth largest economy by the year 2025. A recent report indicates that India's film, television, and streaming sectors generated a total revenue of 1.1 trillion Indian rupees during the fiscal year 2024.
Denzel Washington and Spike Lee collaborate for the fifth occasion in Apple's chic new crime thriller. Apple TV Plus renews the studio for a second season. Google introduces a film production project aiming to offer a positive perspective on technology, contrasting with Black Mirror.
Donald Trump's criticism of green energy might negatively impact the United States in the artificial intelligence competition, according to warnings from data center experts. NBC plans to utilize AI technology to recreate the voice of the renowned NBA narrator Jim Fagan for the upcoming season. In the United Kingdom, the Solicitors Regulation Authority has given its approval to Garfield, an AI-driven law firm that charges a fee of £2.
Researchers have discovered subtle indications that ancient Mars experienced rainy days as well. The UK government has acknowledged that there is nearly no evidence to suggest that nature protections hinder development. The earliest known remains of a domestic cat in America have been discovered in a 466-year-old Spanish shipwreck located near Florida. Tether has ventured into the artificial intelligence sector with the launch of Tether.ai. New Hampshire has become the first state in the United States to enact a bill establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Furthermore, under Trump's administration, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, has ceased enforcing the rule concerning buy now, pay later arrangements, marking another step in the reduction of consumer protection measures. Samsung Wallet introduces a new tap-to-transfer feature that is compatible with both digital and physical cards. Google reveals AI Max for search campaigns, promising a 14% increase in conversions or conversion value while maintaining a comparable cost per acquisition. Tuvalu celebrates a significant milestone with the introduction of its first automated teller machines.
Baidu has filed a patent application that outlines its intentions to develop technology capable of converting animal sounds into human language. Amazon has announced a significant advancement in robotics, introducing a device equipped with the ability to sense touch. IBM's CEO has stated that artificial intelligence has led to the displacement of hundreds of employees, although it has also generated new opportunities in programming and sales roles.
The FDA has selected a critic of COVID booster shots to become the new head of its vaccines division. The Washington Post has announced that, following Trump's recommendation, the USPS board plans to appoint a FedEx executive as the new Postmaster General. The Trump administration has declared that it will prevent Harvard from obtaining any future grants. A scathing report has concluded that the FBI mishandled the investigation into the 2017 congressional baseball shooting, minimizing the gunman's anti-Republican motivations. In a significant development in the United States, the DEA has executed the largest fentanyl seizure in its history, capturing over 400 kilograms in an unprecedented operation. A declassified memo reveals that U.S. spy agencies do not believe Venezuela is orchestrating gang activities.
Disney and Myrtle have revealed their intentions to develop a new Disney theme park located in Abu Dhabi. Napoleon's personal saber is set to be put up for auction at Drought. Nintendo anticipates selling 15 million Switch 2 consoles as it prepares for the upcoming launch.
Wide for domestic flights.
Netflix has introduced a new and improved homepage and app, featuring a search tool powered by OpenAI. The Hollywood Reporter is set to arrive in the United States. In a related development, a U.S. judge has ruled that President Trump's plan to send migrants to Libya would contravene a court order, leading to the blocking of a deportation flight carrying Asian migrants to Libya. Libyan leaders have stated that they have not consented to accept migrants deported from the United States. Furthermore, a federal judge has mandated that the Trump administration promptly resettle 12,000 migrants.
Apple is in the process of creating specialized chips for its upcoming glasses, new Mac models, and AI servers. The company is considering changes to its iPhone release schedule and introducing new designs. Eddie Q, an Apple executive, has suggested that artificial intelligence might eventually replace the iPhone within the next decade. Meta is resuming its efforts in facial recognition technology, as concerns about privacy have diminished. Huawei has introduced its first laptop that operates on its self-developed Harmony OS, following the expiration of its Windows license.
A recent study has discovered that individuals who naturally require only a short amount of sleep possess a specific genetic mutation. Another study indicates that the lifespan of mammals is correlated with both the size of their brains and the effectiveness of their immune systems. Data reveals that the incidence of dementia in China is rising at a rate that exceeds the global average.
Syria's al-Shura has acknowledged engaging in indirect negotiations with Israel while tensions continue to rise. In Paris, Shura expressed a commitment to gradually easing sanctions but emphasized the importance of safeguarding minority groups. France's President Macron is advocating for the European Union to lift sanctions on Syria. In Germany, the new chancellor has advised U.S. officials to refrain from interfering in German political matters. There is an agreement between Merz and Trump on the necessity of addressing trade disputes, and the German intelligence agency has temporarily halted the classification of the AfD as a right-wing extremist group while awaiting an appeal.
Mitsubishi Motors has entered into a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with a division of Foxconn to delegate the development of its electric vehicle (EV) models. Huayu is considering taking over the role of South Korea's LG, which has decided to withdraw from an $8.45 billion investment in an EV battery project in Indonesia. TechCrunch has reported that Tesla's application for the robotaxi trademark has been denied due to its overly generic nature.
White smoke emerges from the Sistine Chapel, indicating the election of a new pope. American Cardinal Robert Prevost has been chosen and assumes the name Leo XIV. There have been remarks suggesting that while Francis was selected to rescue the Church, Leo XIV is tasked with saving the world. In his inaugural Mass as Pontiff, Pope Leo XIV encourages cardinals to adopt a humble demeanor. A New Orleans genealogist claims that Pope Leo XIV has Creole ancestry.
In the United States, Republicans are planning to cut
The Bank of England.
Linux has ceased to support 486 and early Pentium processors, a move that comes 2 decades after Microsoft made a similar decision. There are allegations of data manipulations in a study that played a crucial role in the development of Microsoft's quantum chip. Furthermore, Cobalt, a company supported by Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, is considering a lithium project in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Wikimedia Foundation has initiated a legal action against the newly enacted UK Online Safety Act, contesting its provisions. The Lockbit ransomware group has been compromised, leading to the revelation of their negotiation tactics with victims. Google has identified a connection between the recently discovered Lost Keys data theft malware and Russian cyber espionage activities. OpenAI has introduced a new GitHub integration for its ChatGPT Deep Research, designed to provide answers to inquiries related to code. Google has implemented AI-driven tools aimed at safeguarding Chrome users from potential scams. Alibaba has developed Zero Search, an AI system capable of autonomously searching the internet, which has resulted in an 88% reduction in training expenses. The Indian government has issued a directive prohibiting Pakistani content amid escalating regional tensions. Bloomberg provides commentary on the growing alliance between Putin and Xi, which is challenging the US-dominated global order. A prosecutor in France has stated that the suspect in a mosque murder case acted without any ideological motivation. A recent investigation has uncovered that advanced Chinese weaponry, supplied by the UAE, has been found in Sudan, violating an arms embargo. Reuters has revealed that during Trump's administration, discussions about Saudi Arabia's civil nuclear program were separated from the issue of recognizing Israel, according to sources. The Telegraph has reported that in the UK, an alleged plot by Iranians targeting the Israeli embassy was an attempt to disrupt Iran-US nuclear negotiations, as UK police successfully thwarted this potential terror plot.
Expedia's quarterly revenue fell short of expectations due to sluggish travel demand in the United States, causing its stock to decline. The United Kingdom is set to reveal a $10 billion deal to buy Boeing aircraft, as confirmed by the U.S. Commerce Secretary. Robinhood is preparing to introduce a blockchain platform for trading U.S. assets in Europe.
Trump plans to halt funding for a digital equity law initiated by Biden, labeling it as racist and illegal. The Trump administration has also decided to discontinue a database that has been monitoring the financial impact of extreme weather events since 1980. The DEA, which previously praised body cameras for promoting enhanced transparency, is now moving away from using them.
Amazon plans to allocate $4 billion towards enhancing its cloud infrastructure in Chile. OpenAI is set to invest in initiatives aimed at constructing AI infrastructure in international locations. The Trump administration intends to overturn and substitute the Biden administration's restrictions on global AI chip exports.
Kennedy has introduced a new database aimed at exploring the fundamental causes of autism, with RFK Jr. stating that this database will incorporate information from Medicare and Medicaid. Trump has selected Casey Means, a conspiracy theorist and wellness influencer, who lacks a medical license, to succeed a Fox contributor as the Surgeon General. CNN has reported that a militarized group of conspiracy theorists in the U.S. is convinced that radars are being used as weather weapons and is attempting to dismantle them. The establishment of a new office in Phuket for Vanuatu's Golden Visa program highlights the potential risks associated with selling citizenship. The UK is set to implement stricter rules for skilled worker visas, requiring applicants to possess degrees as part of a broader immigration reform. The Taliban has temporarily banned chess due to concerns about it being linked to gambling. France and Poland have committed to defending each other under a newly signed cooperation agreement. In a display of military strength, Putin organized a parade in Moscow featuring 11,000 troops, 200 tanks, and the presence of 28 foreign leaders, which was described as aggressive. China has welcomed a group of 100 military officers from Africa to enhance their defense partnerships.
The UK government has announced that beef treated with hormones will not be allowed into the country following a trade agreement with the US. British aircraft components have been granted an exemption from tariffs imposed by President Trump as the trade deal between the two nations continues to develop. The Swiss president expressed disappointment with the tariff discussions with the US and expressed optimism that the upcoming meeting between the US and China will yield more positive results. In other news, China is focusing on cracking down on smugglers to enhance its export regulations
Under terrorism legislation.
Following this decision, Coinbase announced the launch of 24/7 futures trading for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, just one day after revealing its significant acquisition of Deribit.
The Federal Trade Commission has postponed the implementation of the click-to-cancel rule for subscription services by
in the sky as a gift from Qatar, according to sources. Boeing has announced plans to deliver the new Air Force One jets by 2027, which would be before Trump's term ends. However, Qatar has dismissed reports of the potential jet gift to Trump as inaccurate.
Young people in Georgia are gradually abandoning their traditional Southern accent, which is part of a broader national trend of changing regional accents. Chimpanzees employ certain language elements to communicate with one another, and they exhibit a consistent rhythm when they drum on tree trunks, an ancient method of communication. The upcoming sequel to Godzilla x Kong has been titled Supernova and has started production with a planned release in 2027.
The remains of soldiers V. Feldman, who had been missing for 43 years, have been retrieved from Syria by the Mossad and the IDF. A representative of Trump has confirmed that Hamas has consented to release the final surviving American hostage held in Gaza. A report indicates that a notorious Nazi war criminal played a role in establishing a major drug cartel and collaborated with Pablo Escobar.
The Wall Street Journal has reported that Donald Trump made a public promise to swiftly conclude 2 ongoing wars. However, in private conversations, he has expressed feelings of frustration regarding this matter. European leaders have indicated that Trump committed to imposing sanctions on Russia unless a ceasefire is reached. Vladimir Putin has suggested initiating direct peace negotiations with Ukraine, marking the first such proposal after 3 years of conflict. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has informed Putin that Turkey is prepared to host these potential Russia-Ukraine peace talks. In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has insisted on a ceasefire being established before he will consider agreeing to Putin's request for direct discussions.
The USDA and DOJ are requesting that states provide personal information regarding food stamp recipients. Trump has announced his intention to mandate that the U.S. pay only the same prices as other countries for certain medications. Trump plans to establish a national center for homeless veterans using funds that were previously allocated for housing illegal immigrants, with an executive order proposing to house homeless veterans at a VA center in West LA.
Trump suggests that the Wall Street Journal should appoint the editor from the New York Post due to its critical reporting. Mexico has filed a lawsuit against Google for altering the name of the Gulf of Mexico for users in the United States. It has been reported that a Trump envoy used a Kremlin interpreter during discussions with Putin aimed at resolving the conflict in Ukraine.
Kids born in the year 2020 are expected to encounter an unparalleled level of exposure to severe climate conditions. In Somalia, a tragic incident occurred where at least 7 individuals lost their lives due to heavy rainfall that caused the drainage system to fail. Scientists from the European Union have raised concerns about the worsening spring drought situation. The United States and China have reached an agreement to reduce tariffs by 115% over a 90-day cooling-off period. Thailand is preparing for a temporary halt in investments due to the ongoing uncertainty surrounding U.S. tariffs. CNN has reported that no ships from China are currently heading to California's major ports, a situation not observed since the pandemic. Poland accuses Russian intelligence of orchestrating an arson attack on a Warsaw shopping center last year, and has subsequently ordered the closure of the Russian consulate in Krakow, attributing the decision to the arson incident linked to Moscow. The NATO chief, as reported by the Dutch Prime Minister, is advocating for member countries to increase their defense spending to reach 5% of their GDP by the year 2032. A study by the People's Liberation Army in China indicates that the country, which is set to have over 100 nuclear reactors, could face the risk of some of these reactors being targeted during wartime.
CATL's $5.3 billion initial public offering in Hong Kong has successfully bucked the trend, marking the largest stock sale in the city since 2021. Bloomberg highlights that the tech industry is cautioning that U.S. investment commitments are contingent on the continuation of a research tax credit. TNR reports that manufacturers are expressing that former President Trump's policies have rendered it nearly impossible to establish factories in the United States. Furthermore, Bloomberg notes that Europe's gig economy is increasingly being dominated by US-owned companies.
Malicious NPM packages have compromised over 3,200 users of the Cursor application by installing a backdoor and stealing their credentials. A software engineer working for Doge had their computer infiltrated by malware designed to steal information. Furthermore, a North Korean operative attempted to secure employment at a well-known cryptocurrency company but was caught off guard by a straightforward question related to Halloween.
Research indicates that individuals with a history of violence tend to interpret faces that are unclear or ambiguous as expressing anger. It has been found that professions such as teaching and librarianship are associated with a lower risk of suicide. Furthermore, a study proposes that engaging in meditation over an extended period might help alleviate stress and slow down the aging process.
Coffee shops are reportedly removing Wi-Fi and laptops in an effort to reduce the number of people working remotely from their premises. In a separate incident, Pearson, a major company in the textbook and testing industry, has been targeted by a cyber attack, resulting in the leakage of customer data. Nintendo has announced that it reserves the right to render its consoles unusable, or brick them, if they are used in an unauthorized manner, as part of its strategy to combat piracy.
The Food and Drug Administration has given its approval to the first ever at-home test that serves as an alternative to the traditional pap smear. In a groundbreaking development, a new PTSD treatment has been introduced that involves stimulating a nerve located in the neck, resulting in the complete eradication of symptoms. Physicists have achieved a remarkable feat by transforming lead into gold, albeit for an extremely brief duration, as observed by the ALICE experiment at the Large Hadron Collider. In the United Kingdom, an artificial intelligence model has been developed using anonymized data collected from 57 million individuals. Insurance companies have introduced policies to provide financial protection against damages resulting from errors made by AI chatbots. A study has revealed that requesting brief responses from chatbots can lead to an increase in the occurrence of hallucinations.
New Scientist discusses the increasing severity of AI hallucinations, indicating that they are becoming a persistent issue. Klarna has decided to slow down its AI-driven job reductions by advocating for the continued employment of human workers. A study proposes that the use of AI can negatively impact one's professional reputation.
In response to U.S. chip sanctions and climate-related challenges, China is constructing a powerful ocean simulation system. Marks & Spencer Group has reported that hackers have compromised the personal information of their customers. In Germany, authorities have conducted a police raid on a conspiracy theorist group known as Kingdom of Germany.
India's Prime Minister Modi has called on Pakistan to dismantle its terror infrastructure as a prerequisite for peace following recent clashes in Kashmir. He has stated that India has only temporarily halted military actions and will resume them if there are any more terror attacks. Senior Indian officials have refuted former U.S. President Trump's assertion that he was solely responsible for mediating a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. China has reiterated its territorial claims over India by releasing a new list of standard place names, which India has rejected, particularly concerning the renaming of locations in the Arunachal Pradesh border state.
A German defense startup is developing underwater drones to enhance naval surveillance capabilities. In India, a new plant for producing BrahMos missiles has been inaugurated, responding to increasing export demands and escalating regional tensions. Countries have gathered at the United Nations to discuss the regulation of killer robots, as current laws and guidelines are considered insufficient.
Flamingos skillfully generate water vortices to ensnare their food. Google is making a significant change to its G icon, marking the first update in a decade. The creator of Genshin Impact is exploring artificial intelligence to expand beyond the realm of gaming.
China's leader, Xi Jinping, has called on nations to come together in response to the ongoing global trade conflict. Vietnam is intensifying its efforts to combat imported counterfeit goods, particularly as discussions with the United States regarding tariffs continue. Reports indicate that Vietnam has been dismantling large-scale scam networks involved in producing fake games and financial products. Goldman Sachs and UBS have increased their forecasts for China's economic growth, following a temporary truce in the U.S.-China trade dispute. This truce includes a reduction in taxes on inexpensive imports from China, with the United States lowering the de minimis tariff on small parcels from China to 54%.
Trump has remarked that the European Union is more antagonistic than China, particularly because his tariff agreements have reportedly placed Europe at a disadvantage. Boeing is set to resume its deliveries to China following the lifting of a previous ban. Furthermore, Trump is advocating for reduced interest rates to mitigate the inflation that he attributes to his own tariff policies.
Wildfires are rapidly advancing in Russia's Far East, prompting Buryatia to declare a regional emergency. Research indicates that the climate crisis poses a significant threat to bananas, which are the most widely consumed fruit globally. Dr. Mariangela Hungria, a microbiologist from Sao Paulo, has been recognized as the 2025 World Food Prize laureate for her groundbreaking work in developing biological seed and soil treatments. These treatments enable crops to access nutrients through soil bacteria, leading to substantial increases in crop yields and a decrease in the reliance on synthetic fertilizers, thereby contributing to Brazil's emergence as a global leader in agriculture. Google is experimenting with an AI mode button within the Google search box. TikTok has introduced TikTok AI Alive, an innovative tool that transforms images into videos. Grok believes that Trump's narrative about a businessman receiving the fat shot is actually a reference to Elon Musk.
President Donald J. Trump achieved a significant milestone by securing a historic $600 billion investment commitment from Saudi Arabia. The United States and Saudi Arabia have entered into the largest defense sales agreement in history, valued at nearly $142 billion. This agreement will supply Saudi Arabia with cutting-edge warfighting equipment and services from more than a dozen U.S. defense companies. Furthermore, Amazon Web Services (AWS) has formed a strategic partnership with Humain, a company backed by Saudi Arabia. In the realm of artificial intelligence, NVIDIA plans to dispatch 18,000 AI GPUs to Saudi Arabia's state-supported AI data centers following the lifting of export restrictions. Saudi Arabia and AMD are also collaborating on a $10 billion project to deploy AI technology. Saudi Arabia's newly established AI firm has selected U.S. chipmaker Grok for its inference capabilities.
Dubai Finance and Crypto.com have entered into a groundbreaking agreement, marking the first of its kind, where the government of Dubai will permit cryptocurrency payments for fees, thereby enabling the use of cryptocurrencies to pay for government service fees. The SEC chair has expressed that blockchain technology holds promise for introducing new types of market activities. Furthermore, it has been reported that a VIP seat at Donald Trump's cryptocurrency-themed dinner was priced at a minimum of $2 million. In related news, Axios has mentioned that Democrats are urging Trump to divest from stablecoins.
Approximately 19 million children in the United States reside with a parent who suffers from a substance use disorder. A series of knife attacks in Japan has raised concerns about the possibility of similar incidents occurring elsewhere. Research indicates that men have a higher risk of succumbing to broken heart syndrome.
Trump announces that the United States will lift all sanctions on Syria, and he holds a meeting with Syria's former insurgent leader in Saudi Arabia. It is reported that Syria had previously proposed constructing a Trump Tower in Damascus prior to the president's meeting. In the United States, the Treasury Department is focusing on a global network involved in shipping Iranian oil, which is used to finance Iran's military and terrorist operations. Trump urges Saudi Arabia to participate in the Abraham Accords, which involve recognizing Israel.
Mexico's security chief has verified that 17 family members of Ovidio Guzman have traveled to the United States. This development is reportedly part of ongoing negotiations. A Mexican mayoral candidate was fatally shot during a live broadcast of a campaign rally. In Brazil, military police have killed the leader of a drug trafficking group in a favela in Rio.
Sweden has taken into custody a person suspected of espionage, according to television reports indicating that a diplomat is currently in detention. In Tajikistan, the act of liking social media posts that are considered extremist has been decriminalized. A United Nations agency has concluded that Russia was responsible for the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 in the year 2014.
The mobile gaming industry is experiencing a significant shift, becoming a volatile sector with spending on the rise. YouTube has announced plans to broadcast the first week of the 2025 NFL regular season game in Brazil, making it accessible to a global audience at no cost. China's Meituan is set to introduce its Kita food delivery service in Brazil, following its successful launch in Saudi Arabia, and has committed to a $1 billion investment in the country.
The FDA and RFK Jr. are working to eliminate fluoride supplements intended to safeguard children's dental health. For months prior, a government study revealed that children who are exposed to elevated fluoride levels tend to have lower IQ scores. RFK Jr. was seen swimming in Washington, D.C.'s Rock Creek, despite the National Park Service's warnings about bacterial contamination. Trump has claimed that he has figured out the system for reducing drug prices. Bloomberg discusses how DeepSeek's founder, known as the tech madman, is posing a challenge to the United States' leading position in the artificial intelligence competition. Google's open-source AI models, named Gemma, have surpassed 150 million downloads. Furthermore, a new type of attack has been discovered that can steal cryptocurrency by implanting false memories into AI chatbots.
Airbnb now offers the option to book a chef or personal trainer during your travels. U.S. ski areas anticipate 61.5 million skier visits for the 2024-25 season, marking the second-best season in history. McDonald's has revealed plans to recruit 375,000 employees, with assistance from the former Trump Labor Secretary. Google is set to introduce ultra-wideband (UWB) technology for Android trackers this month, with plans to integrate them with luggage and airlines in the near future. Philips has unveiled 3D printable components designed for repairing products. PayPal has initiated iPhone NFC payments in Germany following the European Union's mandate for Apple to allow such integrations.
The leadership at Penn State is suggesting the shutdown of 7 campuses within the Commonwealth. In the United States, a bill introduced by the House GOP proposes increasing the tax on large university endowments to 21%. An investigation has revealed a significant espionage network linked to the Chinese Communist Party at Stanford University, highlighting extensive infiltration into American academic institutions.
The upcoming Nintendo Switch may 2nd have the capability to halt its charging process at 90% to extend its lifespan. iOS 19 is set to introduce an AI-driven battery management feature. Furthermore, the Bluetooth Special Interest Group has revealed Bluetooth 6.1, which promises enhanced power efficiency and security. China plans to allocate 27 billion Brazilian reals to Brazil, with President Lula emphasizing the unbreakable relationship between the two nations, while Chinese President Xi criticizes bullying during a meeting with Latin American leaders in Beijing. Colombia's President Petro is shifting focus towards China, expressing interest in joining the Belt and Road Initiative. China has successfully tested a bullet-shaped satellite, marking a significant step towards establishing a very low-orbit surveillance network.
New Zealand has experienced an unprecedented number of people leaving the country, which has resulted in a decrease in net immigration. In the United States, the names Olivia and Liam continue to be the most favored for newborns in 2024, marking their 6th year in a row at the top of the list. The mayor of Bologna has announced that the city's famous Leaning Tower is expected to be stabilized by the end of 2028.
Elon Musk claims that the United States is conducting a discreet experiment with Donald Trump's $5 million gold card, designed for the extremely wealthy. A budget airline in the U.S. has commenced deportation flights for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, as it launches its operations in Arizona. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has been instructed to focus more on immigration matters, while the Department of Justice, DOJ, is reducing its emphasis on white-collar crime cases.
Samsung has introduced the world's first 500Hz OLED gaming monitor, known as the Odyssey OLED G6. The Wall Street Journal reports that Apple plans to enable brain implant control for its devices. Google has announced that 1 billion RCS messages are sent daily in the United States.
Janet Jackson is set to be honored with the Icon Award at the 2025 American Music Awards. Oasis's band manager has stated that the band currently has no intentions of creating new music. An unannounced title for a Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel, Super Mario World, was briefly mentioned in an NBC Universal press release before being removed.
The Trump administration has further reduced grants to Harvard by an additional $450 million, adding to the $2.2 billion that was previously put on hold. A GOP senator has proposed a bill to classify all pornography as a federal crime, aligning with the strategies outlined in Project 2025. Nazi propaganda materials dating back to 1941 have been found in the basement of the Argentine Supreme Court.
The Prime Minister of Peru has stepped down before a scheduled no-confidence vote. In Albania, the initial election results indicate a decisive victory for the incumbent socialists. France has criticized Russia for making baseless allegations about drug use involving French President Macron, German Chancellor Scholz, and British Labour leader Starmer.
Trump suggests participation in potential Ukraine-Russia discussions in Turkey. Zelensky plans to visit Turkey for peace negotiations, regardless of Putin's intentions. Macron announces fresh sanctions against Russia and talks about France's nuclear defense strategy for Europe.
The leader of Mali has taken the drastic step of dissolving all political parties and has imposed a ban on gatherings of their members. In Russia, a well-known activist who has been actively involved in monitoring elections has been found guilty by the courts and is facing a 5-year prison sentence. In Hungary, Prime Minister Orbán has announced plans for new legislation aimed at tightening control over the media, citing concerns about foreign funding.
Amazon has announced that Prime Video has expanded its reach to 130 million customers in the United States who are using the ad-supported version of the service. Sony Pictures Entertainment has reported a decrease in its full-year profit, which has fallen by 4% to a total of $774 million. Unions and the Motion Picture Association, MPA, are advocating for former President Trump to support tax deductions that benefit Hollywood. Gerard Depardieu has been convicted of sexual assault that occurred on a film set in 2021. The Cannes Film Festival has officially announced a ban on nudity and overly large outfits on the red carpet. Madonna is collaborating with Sean Levy on a limited series about her life, which is currently in development at Netflix. Hapag-Lloyd's CEO has observed a significant increase in volume over the past few days, attributing this boost to the recent US-China trade truce. The CEO noted that container bookings from China to the US have surged by nearly 300% following the truce. Jaguar Land Rover has expressed that it cannot rule out the possibility of manufacturing vehicles in the United States to avoid the tariffs imposed by President Trump. Congress has been informed that the reduction in tariffs is still too expensive for soybeans and other sectors within the U.S.
The FBI has issued a warning about fraudulent text messages and deepfake phone calls that are being used to impersonate high-ranking U.S. government officials. Telegram has taken action by banning black markets valued at $35 billion, which were being utilized for the sale of stolen data and the laundering of cryptocurrency. Meta is currently facing a significant surge in scams, as criminals are increasingly targeting Instagram and Facebook.
China has declared the establishment of new military academies as part of its ongoing efforts to modernize the People's Liberation Army. The United States is projected to see a significant increase in the cost of its nuclear weapons, with estimates suggesting a rise of 25% to reach nearly $1 trillion by the year 2034, according to a report from the Budget Office. In Europe, Germany's Friedrich Merz has made a commitment to constructing the continent's most formidable military force.
Nissan is willing to collaborate with China's Dongfeng by sharing its global manufacturing facilities, according to the company's CEO. Uber has launched a new feature called Route Share, which resembles a bus service aimed at commuters. Reuters reports that Elon Musk reclaimed leased vehicles with the intention of repurposing them as robot access for Tesla. However, instead of using them for this purpose, Tesla opted to sell the cars.
Qatar Airways has entered into an agreement to purchase 160 Boeing aircraft during President Trump's visit, marking Boeing's largest ever order as Qatar Airways for long-range jets. Japan is concerned about the potential effects of a US-UK trade agreement on upcoming tariff negotiations, while also preparing to evaluate the US-China trade deal in anticipation of the next round of tariff discussions. Shine has reduced its prices in an effort to attract US customers back following a reduction in tariffs. The United States has clarified that Trump's recent remark about unification was The United States has clarified that Trump's recent remark about unification was specifically related to trade between the US and China. This statement has caused concern in Taiwan, prompting the US State Department to offer reassurance. There have been discussions about whether South Korean and Japanese military forces can engage in joint training exercises. However, the South Korean Marine Corps has denied reports of a planned joint drill with the Japanese Army in June, despite earlier announcements from the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force about conducting their first-ever joint exercise with the South Korean Marine Corps. China is extending billions of dollars to Latin America and the Caribbean in an effort to counter U.S. influence, aiming for a golden decade in relations with the region.
The CDC has announced a significant reduction in drug overdose deaths in the United States, with a nearly 24% decrease over the 12-month period concluding in September 2024. In the U.S., lawmakers Blackburn, Blumenthal, Thune, and Schumer have reintroduced the Kids Online Safety Act, which has been described as having the potential to transform the Internet. The Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services will cease recommending routine COVID-19 vaccinations for children and pregnant women.
South Korea's entertainment sector is encountering actor risk due to celebrity controversies and expensive project delays. YouTube's CEO has stated that the revenue generated from its TikTok-like Shorts videos has reached the same level as its main YouTube platform in both the United States and other nations. Sony is intensifying its focus on anime, with Crunchyroll surpassing 17 million subscribers and preparing a series based on Ghost of Tsushima.
Japan is planning to completely cover the expenses associated with childbirth, potentially starting in April 2026. Lawmakers in California are preparing for a budget deficit exceeding $10 billion, even without any reductions in federal funding. In Canada, Enbridge has sold a $511 million stake in the West Coast Pipeline to an Indigenous alliance.
Coinbase has reported that hackers managed to bribe some of its employees to steal customer data and are now demanding a ransom of $20 million. In response, Coinbase has decided to offer a $20 million bounty to anyone who can help identify and capture the data thieves responsible for attempting to extort the exchange. This decision comes after Coinbase rejected the ransom demand and acknowledged that the insider leak affected approximately 1% of its users. Coinbase is facing a financial burden of $400 million due to an insider phishing attack. The New York Times has also reported that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is investigating whether Coinbase may have misrepresented its user numbers. In a separate incident, Valve has denied that data from 89 million Steam accounts was leaked, despite concerns among gamers. This follows reports of a hacker advertising an alleged database containing 2FA codes for 89 million Steam accounts, although the source of this leak remains unknown. Twilio has also denied any breach in connection with the alleged leak of Steam 2FA codes. Furthermore, Google has warned that hackers who previously targeted UK retailers are now shifting their focus to American stores.
A study reveals that horses were migrating between Asia and North America approximately 50,000 years ago. Invent Wood is preparing to begin large-scale production of wood that surpasses steel in strength. A new theory suggests that dark matter came into existence when rapidly moving particles decelerated and increased in mass.
Rihanna is set to release her first new song in 3 years as part of the Smurfs soundtrack. Nicolas Cage has been cast to portray John Madden in an upcoming film about Madden NFL. Furthermore, Nicolas Cage has confirmed that he is currently in discussions for a live-action Spider-Man noir series, although he clarified that nothing has been finalized yet.
Thomas & Friends has unveiled a previously unseen pilot from 1983, showcasing Ringo Starr as the iconic tank engine, as it celebrates its 80th anniversary. A copy of the Magna Carta held by Harvard has been discovered to be an original. Variety discusses how Hollywood, facing financial difficulties, might seek investment from Qatar, which is actively engaging at the Cannes Film Festival.
Cuba has reported that a defect in its cellular network is impacting certain voice and data services. A recent investigation has revealed that the crew of the Bayesian yacht was not informed about wind speeds exceeding 73 miles per hour, which could have led to the yacht's capsizing. This incident may be linked to a potential design flaw. In a remarkable achievement, NASA has successfully reactivated the thrusters of the Voyager 1 interstellar spacecraft after they had been deemed non-functional for 2 decades.
Bukele attributes the protest outside his residence to NGOs and is advocating for a foreign agents law to stifle their activities. El País has remarked that El Salvador has transformed into the right-wing equivalent of Cuba. Britain is in discussions with certain countries to establish migrant return hubs. Elon Musk had pledged to offer $100 to some voters in Pennsylvania before the 2024 election, but a lawsuit claims he has not fulfilled this promise to everyone. Israeli military actions in Gaza have resulted in the deaths of 84 individuals while discussions for a ceasefire are ongoing. Ben Cohen, co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, was detained during a Senate hearing where he was protesting against the use of U.S. bombs in the killing of children in Gaza. Former President Donald Trump has indicated that the United States is nearing a potential agreement with Iran, mentioning that Tehran has somewhat consented to the terms and is prepared to make concessions regarding its nuclear capabilities. Trump has also sought assistance from Qatar in facilitating this agreement. In India, security forces have reported that several leading Maoist figures have been either killed or wounded during what they refer to as Operation Black Forest. In Indonesia, a military operation resulted in the deaths of 18 individuals who were suspected of being armed separatists. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have announced that they successfully targeted and killed a Hezbollah commander in a previous drone strike conducted in southern Lebanon. SoundCloud has revised its terms of service after facing criticism over its AI policy. According to Axios, Google leads in the number of AI patent applications filed. Noib has issued a cease and desist letter to Meta concerning its AI training practices, with a European class action lawsuit potentially following. The claim is that if each user suffered non-material damages of just €500, the total compensation could reach approximately €200 billion, considering Meta's estimated 400 million monthly active users in Europe.
CarPlay Ultra, representing the latest advancement in CarPlay technology, is set to start its rollout, initially with Aston Martin cars. In 2026, Netflix plans to introduce generative AI advertisements that will appear in the middle of streaming content. CoreWeave, supported by NVIDIA, intends to invest up to $23 billion this year to capitalize on the growing demand for AI.
The Los Angeles City Council has given its approval to a proposal that would set a minimum wage of $30 for hotel workers, even though the tourism industry has raised concerns about the potential negative impacts. Industrial production has seen an increase of 2.6% in the euro area and a rise of 1.9% across the European Union. Verizon has decided to discontinue its diversity initiatives following pressure from the Federal Communications Commission. Mother Jones has expressed its views on this development, stating, "America, say goodbye to a generation of scientists, researchers, and policy experts."
Walmart's chief financial officer has indicated that price increases due to tariffs might begin later this month, while the company has surpassed its earnings expectations. China's The Global Times has suggested that the 90-day tariff truce between China and the United States should be prolonged. According to Barclays, the likelihood of a U.S. recession has diminished following the trade truce.
It has been noted that Putin and Trump are bypassing Zelensky by not attending the peace talks in Turkey, as Putin is not included on the Kremlin's list of officials participating in the Ukraine peace discussions in Turkey. Instead, Putin will miss the summit with Ukraine and dispatch low-level negotiators. Finland is considering increasing the age limit for reservists to 65. Furthermore, the IISS reports that defending Europe without the United States would incur costs and consequences, estimated to be around $1 trillion.
Starbucks is reportedly initiating steps to overhaul its extensive operations in China. Dick's Sporting Goods has announced plans to acquire the financially troubled Foot Locker for a sum of $2.4 billion. Burberry is set to reduce its workforce by 1,700 employees, following a significant financial loss in the millions of pounds.
In March, the number of smartphones shipped in the United States increased by 30%, largely because of worries about tariffs, according to a report. iPhone shipments in China plummeted by 50% as local brands gained significant market share. President Trump has urged Apple to cease iPhone production in India and instead focus on manufacturing in the United States, as part of the ongoing tariff conflict.
China is increasing its oversight of AI data centers, according to the information. Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, has commended Saudi engineers while criticizing Europe for allegedly abandoning its efforts in AI. During his visit to the UAE, Trump announced $200 billion in agreements, including an AI deal that will lead to the construction of the largest AI campus outside the United States, effectively sidestepping previous concerns about China.
The daughter of a prominent cryptocurrency leader narrowly avoided being kidnapped in Paris, marking the latest incident in a string of attacks. An al-Qaeda-linked group claims responsibility for an attack in Burkina Faso, resulting in the deaths of 200 soldiers. The United States has severed defense relations with Cuba due to its alleged non-cooperation and for providing refuge to terror fugitives.
Tim Sweeney has mentioned that Apple has not yet made a decision on whether to accept or decline the second Fortnite submission to the App Store. Apple has issued warnings to applications in the European Union that utilize external purchasing methods. Perplexity has collaborated with PayPal to enable in-chat shopping, intensifying the competition in the AI sector.
Meta is unveiling fresh advancements and discoveries that enhance the prediction of molecular properties, improve language processing, and contribute to neuroscience research. Google DeepMind has introduced AlphaVolve, a coding agent driven by Gemini technology, aimed at creating sophisticated algorithms. China has initiated the launch of satellites as part of its ambitious project to construct the first supercomputer in space.
Billionaires are experiencing a decline in wealth while King Charles III ascends in the latest Sunday Times rich list. The Economist offers commentary, stating that cryptocurrency has evolved into the ultimate speculative asset. The United States is preparing to reduce the banking regulations that were established following the 2008 financial crisis.
YouTube has launched an engaging product feed designed for shoppable television advertisements. The creators on Roblox will now have the opportunity to sell merchandise directly within the game. Furthermore, TikTok plans to display guided meditation sessions to teenagers after 10 p.m.
Netflix's ad-supported tier has reached a milestone of 94 million monthly active users, with users in the United States spending an average of 41 hours each month engaging with the platform. The delay of Grand Theft Auto 6 has reportedly impacted all game companies, as Take-Two's CEO explained that the delay was necessary for Rockstar to achieve its creative vision without any constraints. Additionally, YouTube has introduced a weekly top podcast list, aiming to compete with Spotify and Apple.
The Wall Street Journal has reported that United Health Group is currently facing a criminal investigation due to potential Medicare fraud. The White House has decided to abandon its previous plan to prevent data brokers from selling sensitive information about American citizens. Furthermore, the White House has criticized former FBI Director James Comey's recent social media post, which included the phrase 8647, as an attempt to incite violence against the president.
U.S. Republicans are experiencing internal conflicts regarding Trump's tax cut proposal, which is described as a beautiful document that is 1,116 pages long. There are reports that a rebellion among GOP members could potentially disrupt Trump's big, beautiful bill before it reaches a crucial committee stage. The New York Times mentions that a small company with connections to China has announced a significant acquisition of Trump's cryptocurrency. In other news, President Donald J. Trump has achieved a historic economic agreement worth $1.2 trillion in Qatar, where Qatar Airways has placed an order for 160 Boeing twin-aisle jets during Trump's visit.
According to Reuters, it is anticipated that Microsoft's decision to bundle its Office and Teams products will help prevent a potential antitrust fine from the European Union, as indicated by informed sources. As the United States struggles with its vulnerability tracking efforts, the European Union is stepping in by establishing its own database to monitor security bugs. In the United States, the steel manufacturer Nucor has temporarily stopped some of its production operations following a cybersecurity incident. An analysis by Post reveals that Indian military actions in Pakistan resulted in damage to 6 airfields. Donald Trump has proposed that the United States should seize control of Gaza and establish it as a freedom zone. Additionally, Germany has thwarted a suspected Russian scheme to send incendiary devices